in my garage for my 3D printers, and I had to move it in like into the basement because it was getting too cold.
Yeah, that's not good.
All
Okay,
right.
we're ready. Let me introduce you.
Okay.
Our webinar topic is NetSuite Chrome plugins and extensions. We have Mark Kreminski, our own GYF NetSuite Support Manager. And, feel free to, just ask questions, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question or put it in your chat. It doesn't matter, however you're comfortable. But you can ask questions during the webinar. And go ahead, Mark. It's all yours.
All right. Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining. Like Rhonda said, we're going to talk about plugins. We're going to talk about one plugin kind of in particular for NetSuite, and it's one of the newer ones. I'm not sure how familiar you all are with plugins for Chrome. So this is for Chrome, and if you look here, I have 3 plugins installed currently for NetSuite. One is NetSuite Advanced Field Help. What this plugin does when you open up the help on a field by clicking on the field, it'll actually give you a little bit more information. Sometimes it'll even allow you to change values, as well as giving you the internal IDs and the ability to copy the internal IDs. So if you're writing code or using it in a formula, that's a good way to do that. And that's basically all that one does. And then there's the NetSuite Save Search, which I will show you as part of this. But the NetSuite Save Search utility gives you the ability to search while you're creating a search and adding criteria or adding results. It allows you to search through the field that you want to add, and it'll show you the field. It'll show you the field's ID as well as the field types. So it allows you a little bit more visibility into those into the fields and everything when you're adding them to those saved searches. So they're very helpful. It also gives you the ability to, if you're writing script, you can export the script of the save search. So you can create a save search, add all your criteria, add all your columns, click the export button. Yes, I just saw somebody was put in the chat, but it gives you those abilities as well. So somebody asked how these interact with your user role access permissions. It doesn't give you anything other than what you already have with your permissions. Everything is still controlled by your permissions. So if you're an administrator, you'll still see everything. If you're a salesperson, you only see the things, the fields and the functionality that are given to you in those roles. But the newest one that just came out several months ago is the NetSuite Utils. If you need to download this, you can just go to your managed extensions, and if you just type in NetSuite, and this gives you all the ones that they have. So this is the NetSuite Utils functionality. The nice thing about the NetSuite Utils is it does have, like I said, the other ones were one was save searches, one was field help. This has lots of features, but the nice thing is it allows you to enable or disable these features. So you're only using kind of what you want to use. So I have some of them enabled. I don't have other ones that I didn't find use for, didn't need at the time. And some of these are very in-depth and have lots of pieces and lots of functionality to them. Some of them are really simple, and some of the really simple ones I found are going to be my biggest time saver ones. They might only save you a few seconds or a few clicks, but that adds up over the course of a day. Once you install this, if you have access to your sandbox and your production account, this will work on both of them at the same, so if you switch accounts, as long as you're in the Chrome browser, they'll work on any of the accounts that you switch to. So even your release preview, once you get a release preview account. So it works across any of your accounts. You don't have to do separate installs or anything like that. So I'm going to look at the enable features list. So I'm going to go through this first. And this will show you screenshots, and it'll show you kind of how each of these features work, and we can discuss them separately. And then if you want to see some in action, I can show you those as well. Excuse me. So this is, I'm going to view the features with descriptions. So you can toggle on everything on or off. If you put it in meeting mode, I think it toggles everything off. So this is where you can go through, and if you look on the left-hand side, these are all of the different things that you can basically turn on and off. So there's lots of pieces to this plugin, but we're going to go through each one of them kind of one at a time here. And so under each one, there's multiple. So the floating buttons I have enabled. What this does is it adds the preview and the save and edit right on your screen, and they'll be floating down in the lower right-hand corner. I found when I'm creating advanced PDFs that this is very helpful, because I don't like, some of our advanced PDFs can get pretty long. And in the previously, what you had to do is you had to scroll the whole way up to the top and click the save and edit or the preview button up in the top. So these are just kind of helpful. These are one of those little changes, but make a big difference. You can have the split preview, where you can actually do the preview right on the side, so you don't have to open up a new window, which is previously how, if you use standard NetSuite, how it works. You'd hit preview and it would open up the new window. And then the version selector. The version selector is nice because it'll show you all of your old versions. So when you click save or save and edit, it'll create a version, a backup version of this, of your advanced PDF. So if you mess something up, which I've done more times than I'd like to admit, you can go back to a previous version and work from there. So, because sometimes you don't even know what you've messed up until you try to print it for real, and then you'll see an error, or you'll see data that doesn't look how you want it to look, or your formatting's off. So this allows you to hop back to previous versions of your code. For CSV, this basically gives you the ability to, so if you have a CSV file and it fails, so this one is 32 of 34 records that were imported successfully, and you want to see what those are. Previously, what you would have to do is you would have to open up click the CSV link. It would open up the CSV file for you, and it would show you which ones failed and why they failed. What this one does is this opens it just basically right on the screen. It allows you the ability to make the change directly on the screen, and then you can download a new CSV file for importing. So you can actually modify the CSV file and then save it and do the re-import. So this one might save a little bit of time, especially if it's an error that you know, it's a error that you know how to fix without having to do kind of any other investigation. The developer ones, I don't have any of these enabled, but this allows you to drag and drop. It's an extension to the NetSuite drag and drop, so it allows you to drag and drop when you're creating a new script file. The module loader, if you're writing script in the console, it allows you to load the model. If you're testing in the console, it allows you to load modules right into your console. This allows you to view the JSON format of the object that you're on. And these are, like I said, these are your developer ones. It's a long one. And this will load a record into your console so you can view it. The one that I do have turned on are your Suitelet actions. So if you're creating Suitelets, what this will allow you to do is in your header where your Suitelet is, so you have the title of your Suitelet, This allows you to open the script record right from your SuiteLit, open the deploy record, or clear the deploy log. So if you're logging information, if you're debugging things, sometimes you get lots of things in your debug log and you want to clear it so you can see the most recent set of logs. So your SuiteLit actions are right there and they just show up right on top of the page. And you can access the script, the deployment, or the logs right from the actual SuiteLit itself. And this is for if you write SuiteQL, this will allow you to test and write the SuiteQL without creating your own separate tool to do that. This one's also a long one here. Lots of screenshots. File cabinet. This is just another, because this is another extension to the file drag and drop functionality, but now it's extended to your file cabinet. This allows you to find using your keyboard shortcuts. So the get and find field ID, I don't use this one, but so if you Control Shift F and then you can find the a body or column field by ID, Control Shift L, you can find a body or column field by name. This extends, so the more records action extends your more actions menu. The one that I found the most useful is the view dependent records, but there's also edit and save, delete record, add fields, add columns, view scripted record. So this is useful as well. If anyone's familiar with the view scripted record, if in NetSuite, if you go under customization scripts, view scripted record, this will show you any scripts that are deployed to the record type that you're currently on. So if you're seeing performance issues, if you're seeing errors, this is a good way to find out kind of what's going on with that.
You see there's a message.
Oh, I did not see there was a
Tara,
message.
how security safe are the extensions?
Most of from what I've looked into on this, everything is happening kind of in your browser, so they should be relatively secure. I can look into that more, and I will send out a message for that. So then there's view transaction trees. So if you have a sales order, you can see the item fulfillments and the invoices that are attached to that transaction. And then the view dependent records is one that I find useful when we're trying to, especially when you're trying to clean things up and you get that you can't delete things. And this one, I don't really use the view XML often because you can also do it just right in your URL. You can add the and XML equals true, and it'll show you the XML representation of any record that you're on. The portlet refresher, I've had requests for this in the past because when you refresh your page, your home page mostly, it doesn't automatically refresh all of your portlets. So if you just click the refresh button, sometimes if you have portlets and KPIs on that screen, they won't automatically refresh with the refresh of your browser window. This will refresh all of those portlets anytime that screen is refreshed. So if you're using this if you're using your dashboard and KPIs a lot to monitor things, this is a useful one, especially if you have lots of portlets on your screen. And you can set the portlet refresh rate right here. The dialog, so this one I don't use, so I'm not super familiar with it, but it appears to quick load records that you select in of a certain record type. And like I said, some of these are more useful than others. Your role list, this one is nice. If you have multiple roles or you have access to multiple accounts. So your production in Sandbox, this will actually list, when you hover over one of these, it'll actually list your account ID for you. So if sometimes, if you forget to rename your account when you do a refresh and you have multiple sandboxes, it's sometimes difficult to tell which sandbox you're in. If you're in Sandbox 1 or Sandbox 2, this will give you that ability. And this one also has sandbox type colors turned on. So what you're seeing is that the sandbox is orange, release preview is blue, and that's this next checkbox. So just a visual way to tell what you're selecting, even though it's there's also text, but this gives you kind of a quick way to do it. So this lets you search for a specific role. If you have a lot of roles, or a lot of roles over multiple accounts, this will allow you to search for that role. So sometimes you might have, especially if you're an administrator and you're setting things up, you may have a lot of roles. You may have a role for every role that you have assigned to somebody else. You may have assigned to yourself, so you can test things as those people. This will allow you to search and select those roles just from the search bar.
Hey, Mark, question. You can enable these features, try them out, and if you don't like them, disable them, right?
Yeah, and that's what I've done. And like, this is my actual what I have enabled on mine. So I went through and I originally enabled everything, and then I went through and read the descriptions and said, okay, which ones am I going to actually use? And which ones am I going to find useful? So you can just turn on one of these if you want. If you're only working on saved searches, you just might want to worry about these saved search ones. Some of the stuff now, though, I've gotten so used to that I don't see it as separate from NetSuite. It's just how I use NetSuite.
Right. Okay.
And that's what a lot of those are in this, the save search section. And then the user interface section, there's a couple in there that I found very useful. So in the save search section, this is a formula autocomplete. So if you're writing lots of formulas, this is very helpful. It'll give you kind of some ideas of how you want to, of the formulas that you want to use. In search preview, this one's very helpful. It'll put these preview and expand buttons on your screen. This allows you to preview the save search without clicking the preview button in NetSuite, which would take you out of the search, because I've had things happen in the past where you get an unexpected error has occurred because you've done something in a formula that NetSuite doesn't like. And then when you go back to your save search, if you haven't saved it yet, you lose all the work that you've done. This preview does it in a pane right on your screen. So if you hit preview, it'll open up this new pane, and it'll actually run the search in, without you saving it. It'll run what those search results would look like. And it's faster because you're not jumping back and forth between multiple screens or clicking save and preview or preview. You could also run into the issue where I've run into before, where I've clicked preview and then I get distracted by a phone call or an issue comes up somewhere else, and sometimes things will time out, and then you also lose all that work if you haven't saved it yet. That's more on me than on the system, but it's something I've done multiple times. This one is one that doesn't seem, I mean, it's not super useful, but it does end up saving a lot of time. So if you go under lists, searches, new save search, it'll add quick links up to the top right here where you can just click on customer and it'll create a customer search. Item, it'll create an item search. Time and transaction, or you can search for your record type. So if you have lots of, especially if you have lots of custom record types, you might have several pages that you have to scroll through when you're creating that save search. This will allow you to jump right to it. It also allows you to favorite your search types, and then they'll show up in these quick links if you've renamed your records. So instead of customer, you call them clients. The client will show up here instead of customer. This one is one of those ones where it's like, yeah, this isn't a huge deal, but it does end up saving time, and it saves clicks and it saves searches. So over the course of a day, if you're really busy creating save searches, this will end up saving you a little bit of time. So I haven't turned on any of the beta ones. Better page title I have turned on. What that does is it'll actually show you the name of the record in your tab. this is really helpful for if you have lots of transactions opened at the same time. So if you have lots of sales orders open at the same time, in traditional NetSuite, you'll just see a bunch of tabs that say sales order. What this will do is this will actually show you the number of the sales order and then the word sales order. So you can identify, without clicking on it, you can identify or better identify which records that you want to look at. And so I found this one very useful. And this is one of those ones that I don't even think about as being part of this tool. It's just something that's there now. So I know that I want to look at this sales order, especially if you're comparing things or you're looking at, yeah, like I said, multiple, especially of the same type of record. It won't just say sales order anymore. It'll give you that actual number. Fixed tabs will keep your tabs at the top of your screen, even if you're scrolling. So it's just makes it so it's easier to navigate your system. You don't have to scroll back up to the top to get to those tabs. So these are, I just haven't turned these on yet because they're relatively new to this. So this will freeze your sublist headers. If you're in a sublist and you're scrolling, this will freeze those headers for you. And then this will freeze the columns for you. Like I said, these are still in beta, so they haven't been fully tested, and they may cause you to see some things that are that you're not expecting. So that's why I haven't turned these ones on yet. This just, if you could look at the screen, this will actually show you the screen. And allow you to log in directly back to the screen. This one's not, I didn't find this one super useful. This one I just turned on the other day and I found that it's actually gives me a lot more real estate in my drop-down list. So what it does is under your navigation drop-downs, it takes out some of these spaces and just kind of shrinks everything up so you can see more on the screen at one time. It takes a little bit to get used to just visually, but I found that since I've turned it on, I found that I've gotten used to it quickly, and it's pretty useful. And you can set the number of pixels here as well, like how high the space basically between them that you want it to be. And this is very similar for your drop-down options. If you have lots of options in your drop-down, you may want to shrink these down just to give you a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more the ability to navigate a little bit easier. And then smaller sublist headers. This just shrinks the sublist headers down slightly and allows you to have more on the screen at one time. So it actually keeps them on a single line instead of splitting them. So in the past, internal sales notes might have been split and it says internal and then sales notes under it. This just makes it maybe a little bit more easier to read for you. I haven't used this one at all, but this allows for the update of the field service configuration. I'm not entirely sure how useful this one is. And then in your workflow, if you're writing lots of complex workflows, this will just, it colors the transitions for you from one stage to the next. It looks nice, and it's slightly helpful when you have lots of, like this one is still pretty simple, but I've seen some of the some complex workflows that basically look like a circuit diagram. There's so many boxes and lines and things going everywhere, and it's helpful on those ones. So that's basically all I had for today, was just kind of reviewing all of these. Like I said, you can turn off and on any of these you want. If you find them useful, you can leave them on. If you find them not useful, you can turn them off. Like I said, you can turn on everything at one time on the main screen, I believe. Enable features list. So yeah, you can just turn them on right here without going into all this detail. But if you really want to see what the detail is and what everything does, you can just jump right in here And like I said, there's nothing really on this is nothing super groundbreaking, but it is a good tool to help you throughout your day, and make some things a little bit simpler to find and some things a little bit quicker. Are there any questions on any of this?
Yeah, anyone want to know specifically on anything? Or if you find after you've looked at it, you have questions,
Right.
just send them over to PittNUG and
Right.
the
So this
PittNUG
is
contact.
So this is a test account. So you can see how my menus are a little more compact. And then if I go to list, save searches. Oh, list. Sorry, clicked the wrong one. Lift, save searches, new. You can see how these links are they're right here now. And if I wanted to create a customer search, I could just create the customer button. And like I said, it doesn't save you a ton of time, but it saves you a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think it looks cool.
Right. So that's all I have on this. And Rhonda said we will be sending out, hopefully in February, we're going to have another lunch and learn if anyone has any topics they want to talk about. And then we'll also be scheduling the next PittNUG meeting for sometime in March. We'll look at and see when the best time is. We're going to review some of the release notes. We'll go over some of the release stuff. We want to make sure at least one release phase is kind of out already, just to see if anyone runs into any issues before that.
Yeah,
Other than that,
any topics you think would be good to cover too on the meeting, or webinar ideas, they're always good. Third party vendors, anything like that, just send them my way. So.
Yep. And if you
Right,
need
thanks,
any,
Mark.
sorry, thank you. And if you need NetSuite support, feel free to email me directly, and we can talk about your NetSuite support needs.
Yep.
And if you have any questions on this topic or any other topic, you can reach out either to me directly, or you can reach out on our PittNUG LinkedIn page, where I do have a link to this this utility and a brief description about this utility that I had done previously. So
yeah. Okay, guys, thanks. All
right.
good afternoon.
Thank you, guys. Thank everyone. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Stay warm out there.